In this video, I'll be showing you how to create a simple flame animation in Procreate by creating a wave and attaching a flame to it. We'll be using a screen-size canvas and 6B pencil under sketching. Toggle on your animation assist under canvas in the actions tab. To create a background, tap the first frame and toggle background on. In the background, we're going to create a line. This is going to be a guide for where the flame will sit, and then just add a little hatch mark in the center of that line. In another frame, create a wave going across your screen. If you have trouble making this line smooth, you can turn up the stabilization and motion filtering in the brush that you're using, and that will help a little bit. Select the transform button and then use the distort mode in order to make the wave a little bit thinner. Just make sure it's centered over that little hatch mark that we made. In order to make this wave look like it's moving on a loop, we're going to move it up little by little until this bump of the wave ends up where this one is. And then that's going to create a looping cycle. I'm going to create a reference of where I want the bump on my wave to end up in the background. So I'm going to go into the Layers tab, turn down the opacity on the frame with the wave on it, and then I'm going to go to the background and draw where I want that bump on my wave to end up. I have my opacity turned back up, and now I'm going to start animating. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this frame and then use the transform tool to shift the wave just a tiny bit up. You don't want to make a big jump between frames. And then I'm going to continue that same process over and over again until the bump in the wave lines up with where I want it to be. And I have that reference in the background to know where it should end up. Now it's all lined up, and I'm going to erase that guide that I had in my background because I don't need it anymore. In order to see if your animation worked and if it looks smooth, look at how the line moves at the top of your canvas. So you should see a smooth back and forth motion. Also make sure your animation is set on loop in the settings to make sure it continues the loop. If it looks kind of off or choppy, just go back and double check that you made your wave move little by little and that it ends up where it should. Go back to the background and add a circle over the hatch mark. Hold your pencil on the screen and then tap with the other finger to create a perfect circle. This is going to be the base of your flame. Then create another line, which is going to be the top of the flame. These guides will help us create a consistent shape in the flames. Next, turn down the onion skin to just one frame so that you can only see just the one frame before and the one frame after the current one you're working on. Now we'll begin drawing the flame. Draw each side of the flame. You can use the wave and circle as a guide. Just make sure your line doesn't make any huge jumps in between frames. Continue doing this through every frame, and it should look something like this when you're done. Sometimes you'll get like a weird skip after the last frame before it loops again. If anything like that happens, just double check that you don't have a big jump between your last and first frame, since it is looping, so you don't want them to be too different so it's seamless. To add an outer layer to your flame, go to the background and add another line. So this is going to be the top of the outer section of your flame. And then just do the exact same thing you did with the first part of the flame. It should look something like this when you're done. You won't need the background anymore, so you can just delete that. Now it's time for color. So you can do this a couple of different ways. You can color drop into the actual flame layer. You can work in separate layers and then combine them so they end up as the same frame. You can also play around with some of the luminosity brushes to create a cool effect. For me, I just switched out of animation mode and then toggled on the visibility for the only frame I was working on by just holding the check mark. Then I created a layer below it that I could fill in with color. Here I'm creating another layer to do the lighter section of the flame. And now I'm just cleaning up all of the black outlines. I just combine the 3 layers so there'll be one frame again for the animation. This is what the flame animation looks like when it's finished. And then to add a candle, I just drew it on the background, and this is the final result.